What you're about to hear isn't a routine update from deep space. This isn't another quiet discovery buried in an academic archive or a subtle change in a distant star's brightness. No, what follows is something else entirely. Something that feels alive. Something that seems to be watching us back. It begins with an old machine, one of the most extraordinary relics humanity has ever built. A silent traveler that has been drifting through the cold emptiness for nearly half a century. Voyager 1. And with it, a new arrival that defies every law of celestial motion we understand, an interstellar object named 3I, Atlas. For almost 50 years, Voyager 1 was little more than a faint whisper on the edge of existence, its voice carried across the void by dying radio waves. Launched in 1977, it showed us worlds we had only dreamed of, the storm-wrapped beauty of Jupiter, the icy rings of Saturn, the distant glow of Uranus and Neptune. When its grand tour was complete, it sailed beyond the known planets, leaving behind the warmth of the sun and everything familiar. It passed the boundary of the heliopause, the very edge of the sun's protective bubble, and entered interstellar space. Out there, Voyager became a messenger in the dark, carrying a single golden record engraved with the sounds, images and stories of Earth. Greetings in 55 languages. Music from Bach, Beethoven, and Blind Willie Johnson. The laughter of a baby. The crash of ocean waves. The hum of a brainwave. It was humanity's attempt to say, "We were here." But in 2025, the silence was broken. Astronomers around the world detected a new interstellar visitor, a strange object entering the solar system at incredible speed. Designated 3I, Atlas, it immediately distinguished itself from anything previously seen. It was larger than both Oumuamua and Borisov, the two interstellar visitors that came before, and it emitted a distinct emerald glow that shimmered like a heartbeat. From the very beginning, Atlas behaved wrong. Its rotation wasn't chaotic like a natural object. It was steady, exact, and mechanical, as though timed by an unseen clock. It traveled at nearly 150,000 miles per hour, yet as it moved closer to the sun, it began to decelerate. Not gradually, deliberately. It wasn't obeying gravity. It wasn't shedding vapor. It was slowing itself down. And then, quietly, whispers began to spread. Inside NASA, a rumor emerged, one that seemed impossible to believe. Voyager 1 had been reactivated. The aging spacecraft, long considered barely functional, had been carefully reawakened by engineers using mathematical corrections instead of thrusters. Its antenna had been realigned, not toward Earth, but toward the incoming trajectory of Atlas. No one outside the agency could confirm it, but then the data started to change. A fluctuation in Voyager's telemetry. A subtle distortion in its carrier signal. And then, a sequence, faint, almost hidden within the noise. A pattern that couldn't be dismissed as random. Prime numbers. For decades, prime sequences had been considered the universal language of intelligence, a way to prove understanding between species. Now, those numbers were returning to us, encoded faintly in Voyager's stream. Not from the spacecraft itself, but from somewhere else. Something was answering. Reports followed quickly. Amateur radio operators began detecting bursts of static with rhythmic intervals. Sensitive magnetometers around the world picked up fluctuations, not from solar storms, but from structured, artificial modulation. Signal analysts confirmed what many feared to say aloud. A pattern of intent was present. Something intelligent was speaking, or reflecting, through Voyager. And then came the internal leak, a classified memo marked Echorefraction 67. It contained fragments of raw data showing a repeating pulse every 19.7 minutes. A transmission that seemed to adapt to Voyager's failing power. The frequency adjusted, compensating for voltage drift, maintaining synchronization as though aware of the spacecraft's limitations. It was intelligent. Responsive. A dialogue of some kind was forming. NASA's internal AI, SIF, was tasked with analyzing the pattern. After hours of correlation, its classification system produced a chilling result: non-human origin. No known natural source matched the structure. No pulsar, no magnetar, no background interference. The algorithm labeled it as extrinsic intelligence. Within days, Voyager's position shifted again, several degrees off course. It was now facing not where Atlas was, but where Atlas would be. Voyager cannot calculate trajectories. It has no autonomy. Unless something else was controlling it. Meanwhile, Atlas's light pulses changed once more. They began to mirror Voyager's orientation shifts, flickering faster whenever Voyager turned, almost like a cosmic call and response. To many watching the data come in, the implication was undeniable: Atlas was responding. Then came another revelation, one that connected the present to the ancient past. Historians and archaeologists began comparing Atlas's trajectory with the geometric alignments of Earth's oldest monuments. From Stonehenge to Göbekli Tepe, from the pyramids of Giza to Machu Picchu, each site seemed to trace a precise alignment toward the same corridor of stars, the very region from which Atlas had entered. Ancient myths from multiple cultures spoke of glowing wanderers, stars that listened, and lights that moved with purpose. For centuries, these were interpreted as poetic metaphors, allegories for seasons, gods, or harvest cycles. But now, with Atlas's arrival, those stories felt eerily familiar. Had ancient civilizations seen something like this before? And if they had, did they leave behind warnings we mistook for worship? Then, the world went dark. Within days of the Echorefraction 67 leak, telescope networks began to experience technical failures. Data archives vanished. Observatories reported server errors and missing logs. NASA's live telemetry streams for Voyager turned to static. Independent researchers trying to share findings online found their posts deleted, their accounts suspended. It was as if the story itself was being erased in real time. A silent operation many began calling the shadow sweep. Across scientific circles, people whispered that a coordinated blackout was underway, a deliberate effort to contain the truth. But in the quiet, more evidence surfaced. Voyager's power source, the plutonium core that should have been nearly dead, was suddenly outputting steady voltage again. The spacecraft's transmission strength, which had been fading for years, had stabilized. Something was feeding it energy, from somewhere. And beneath all that noise, analysts found something else. A rhythmic pulse buried deep in the carrier signal, increasing in frequency with every transmission cycle. Like a countdown. It grew shorter, faster, with each passing day, as if approaching a moment of convergence. Some believed it marked a point in time. Others feared it was a command, a signal awaiting completion. No one knows what happens when the sequence ends. No one knows when it will. Governments remain silent. NASA has issued no updates. The Deep Space Network refuses to comment. But radio operators around the world still hear the hum, faint, constant, pulsing every few minutes like a heartbeat from beyond the stars. What began as a whisper from humanity to the cosmos has become a conversation we can no longer control. For the first time in human history, the void has spoken back. The silence of the universe has shattered. The stars have turned their gaze toward us. And whatever is out there, it knows we are listening.